Hey everybody, how's it going here? Okay, I've got 5 different Orgone devices here, and you can see from the left to the right they get smaller. So this the bigger one on the left, that's about 12 inches tall, so about 30 centimeters tall, and so they get pretty small in the end. And the smallest one here, of course this fits in my hand pretty well. This is about the size, if people order these Orgone necklaces from someone, this is the size of the pendants. This one here that I'm holding, and this one, sorry, trying to find the camera there, this one here, these are not your average Orgone devices. These were made special for me. Okay, so those are just some samples of the Orgone I have. I have a few other devices that I didn't bring with me today, but I'm here at the ocean having some lunch, and I'm going to do a video here on Orgone. So this is just the intro. Okay, see you in a second. Hey everybody, this is Big Lair. How's it going? With Jack's Private Coffee Corner. I'm sitting at the beach here doing a video about Orgone. As you saw in that little bit at the beginning of the video, I had 5 different sizes of Orgone devices. I actually have a few other devices, a few other sizes. There's one size that's a little bigger than the tallest one, that's about 30 centimeters or 12 inches. I have numerous sizes in between. The small one, here I'll pick it up. Small one here is about that size. This one here, this is sort of the workhorse of my Orgone army, this size here. I've made close to 100 of these. I've deployed them in different areas around Japan. I've deployed them around my house, wherever I've lived. The smaller ones, let's see, here's the other second smallest one, and then the next size up. These are the ones I use for my house. This one here, and then the smallest one, those were made by a guy. I can't give his information out. Whoa, almost had my camera fall over. I can't give his information out. All I can say is he was a very, very well-known psychic up to about, we'll say 18, 20 years ago. Very famous guy. He was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He wrote books. He was a pretty savvy businessman. If I'm not mistaken, he owned a chain of computer stores. He was one of the first guys to realize, hey, computers are going to be good. So he owned a chain of stores that sold computers. And he was one of these individuals who was a psychic to the elites. And how I met him, well, I should give a little bit of background on the guy. Being an enlightened individual, he was sort of born into this life. I believe his family came from a family of psychics. They also were psychics to the elites, and he was privy to a lot of information, but he didn't realize what was really going on until he got into his late 20s, early 30s, and then he started writing books about it, exposing things. Well, that was frowned upon, and he was told to knock it off. He didn't knock it off, and then he was told again, hey, we will ruin your life if you don't stop this. So he couldn't give it up. Published one more book. and he just lost everything. Lost his wife, lost his kids, lost his, all of his properties, lost his business. Doing a public search on the guy, any public search, everything was suddenly scrubbed from the internet. It was really kind of an interesting story in a sad way. So he was connected to an individual who I knew, interestingly enough, through Orgone. At that time, about 20 years ago, very few people knew anything about Orgone. It was very different than today. And you had to pretty much make your own devices. You had to go out and buy the what's the material called? What's this clear material called? I can't even. Resin. Okay. The reason I couldn't remember is because I remember in Japanese, because I was here in Japan making these things, and I had to go and try and buy resin. I was buying commercial resin, and it was really funny because the one place I bought it from, they were worried that I didn't know what I was doing, because resin, you need a hardener. So when I ordered it the first time, the guy said, well, do you have anyone who's Japanese with you? And I said, well, yeah, my wife's Japanese. Let me talk to her. So he asked her all these questions about what I was doing. And I told her, don't tell him the truth. Just say I'm making a bunch of models. I'm a sculptor. And that satisfied his curiosity. So he would sell it to me wholesale. I was buying these huge containers of about, 30 to 50 liters of resin at one time with a hardener, and making all these devices. Then I found a guy who would get me the metal shavings, various sizes of metal shavings. And in the middle of all this, I was sharing photos on the internet of devices I was putting together. And I can't remember what forum I was doing this on or what my username even was. This is like 20 years ago. So, I got connected with this guy who had a website. He talked about a lot of woo-woo stuff, aliens, men in black, chemtrails, the whole 9 yards. And he said to me, hey, I know this guy is a real famous psychic, and he needs money. He's lost everything. He wants to sell his library of books. He's got some really rare books. Are you interested? So I was like, yeah, I'll put in a bid. I put in a bid, and in the end, the guy said, well, I won't give you my whole library for that price. I'll give you half of my library. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'm fine with that. So that was just a bicyclist passing behind me. It wasn't a weird entity or anything. So I got half of his library. It's all these rare books on masonry, and I wouldn't say witchcraft, but anyone who talks about witchcraft or doing magic, or this stuff that people are doing that can't be explained through our current understanding. You've got, what's the lady's name, Blavatsky or whatever, Madame Blavatsky. I might be saying that wrong. Aleister Crowley. All of those people, the books that they would have read to get their ideas, I have all of those books. I have those books in my library. So a very eclectic group of books, very interesting, some very rare, like a printing done in New Delhi, India, 130 years ago with only 200 books in the printing. I have one of the books, things like that, right? So anyway, by buying this guy's library, we had some contact back and forth, address, sending books, did you get them yet? Yeah, whatever. And he said to me, after you get them, call me, because you may have some questions about the books, and I want to tell you about some of them. So that was really cool, because he recommended I read certain books first to gain a certain understanding about whatever, and then go to the next book. The last time I had contact with him, he said, I'm sending you a box of some Orgone devices, and you will need these devices. I'll send a piece of paper along to explain how to use them, but I can't be in contact with you anymore. It's just for your own good. And I was like, okay. So he sent me these devices. One of them is an etheric wand. He called it an etheric wand, made of orgonite and some other material. I didn't bring it with me today. I have it packed away, and I'm in the process of wanting to move to America. So that's in one of the first things I'll be taking with me, this etheric wand. And then the other one, I'm trying to think of the exact name he gave it. He might have called it like a St. Vincent implant buster or something, implant destroyer. Implant as in, yeah, those implants, like somebody sticking an implant in you to track your movements. So he sent me this I think it was a St. Vincent implant destroyer, if I'm not mistaken, his own words, and this etheric wand with directions. I recently found the directions. I was so happy to find that as I'm getting ready to move. So a long story short, he says, you're going to need these things. Lo and behold, I'm at a shopping mall here in Japan. I see an individual who has a bald head, no ears, no mouth, two small slits for a nose, and two very slitty eyes. It almost looks like that, the Harry Potter movies, that guy, he's always battling, Harry Potter. What's that guy's name? The one who put that mark on his face or whatever. He looks kind of like that guy, almost deformed. Just imagine no ears, smooth side of the head, no mouth, two slits for a nose, and eyes. So I saw this alien, and he got really close to me, and he tried to separate my son and I. And if anyone gets too close to me and my kids and I think something's going on, I'm going to blast them first and ask questions later, right? So I spin around really fast to blast this guy in the side of the head, and then I'm taken back by the fact that he has no ear, no mouth, and this freakish looking face. And I kind of stop, I almost smash this guy. I stop, and then I get hit by something in the back, my left back shoulder. Turn around, and I see another alien. I'm going to say these are aliens. Another alien on the second floor at the shopping mall. He's like one level up, and he sees me. Guy disappears like that. We made eye contact. He had some device in his hand. I'm guessing he shot me with something. He disappears. I turn. The other guy's gone. So, holy shit, did I just get implanted? Well, the story gets even funner. I call this lady that I know, a very good psychic. I won't use her name because I haven't asked her if I can use her name for this story. Very good psychic that I knew for a couple years. I trusted her. I called her up. And this is how good she is. I called her up. She answered the phone. I didn't say anything. I'm waiting for her to say hello. She answers the phone and she says, "Oh my God, Larry, what happened to your left shoulder?" That's the first thing she says to me. "Oh my God, Larry, what happened to your left shoulder?" And I'm like, "How'd you know it was me?" And she's like, "Of course I know it's you. I'm psychic." And then she said, "You've been implanted. You've got to get rid of that." And I said, "Well, you're not going to believe this, but a couple months ago, so-and-so," and she knew who this guy was because he was really famous. And she knew he was involved in making Orgone devices. He sent me these things, and she said, "Well, you've got to sit down and do this. I can see where it is," and blah, 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 blah. So I had my wife assist me with this, and took my shirt off, lay down, told her where the implant was, where I thought it was. She puts this device, this implant buster thing on it, implant destroyer, and within 5 seconds, my skin starts shaking, and you can see a small, I couldn't see it, she could, she screamed and jumped, but I could feel it. It was like I had a marble underneath my skin that was moving on its own. And it moved over my shoulder, down my deltoid muscle, down to the bottom of my bicep, got to where my bicep and tricep are on this part of my arm. I still have a hard thing, it's right here. and it stopped. It stopped and got smaller, and it's been there ever since. So I'm guessing the implant was destroyed by this thing, and that was its way of, like, I don't know, running away or getting away from this. And when it got to the final resting point, I had my wife put the thing back on it, this implant buster, and that's the end of the story. So pretty wild stuff, wild and weird stuff. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Orgone because it's helped me. Now, a lot of people have Orgone that's a pyramid shape. You know, mine here, you see I have a cone. My other big one is a cone. I like cones. I don't know why. When I was making these things, I was drawn to the cone shape. I did make a few that were pyramid shapes in the beginning, and I just felt the energy of the cone suited me better. The energy that I could see and feel coming from the Orgone devices. And some people call these HHGs. I forget what HHG stands for, but the thing I just showed you, they'd call it an HHG. I forget what it means now. But I just like the energy from those better. Basically what it does is you put it in an area, you just set it down somewhere, and it will suck in negative energy. And it okay, I'm going to let go of my stand here. Hopefully my camera won't fall over while I'm talking. So it sucks in the negative energy, scoops it up, and where the point of that cone was, the very point, when it hits that point, the energy gets transformed or transmuted, however you want to say it, transformed into positive energy, and then it shoots out like this as positive energy. So it's drawing in the negative energy. The device transmutes it into positive energy, and then it shoots out like this, like an upside down cone formation, and then just kind of goes off into the into the air. Now this etheric wand thing that I talked about, that was different. That actually focuses energy and like really pinpoints it and shoots out like a laser. Also, I built another large device, which I don't have with me now. It's actually working. I call that my laser, or my Orgone bazooka, because that thing is like, it shoots out this huge tube of positive Orgone energy. And I used it one time. There was a plane laying a really heavy chemtrail over my house, and I held onto this thing, like in my arms, sort of like this, held onto it, pointed up at the airplane, and really focused on hitting the plane's direction. And I am not kidding you, the plane disappeared. The plane disappeared. It was not making any more chemtrails. The chemtrail was there from, what the plane had made. But I had the intention of destroying the plane. The plane disappeared. I've had similar things happen where using the same device, planes have disappeared. However, the chemtrail afterwards on those other ones would go from a white chemtrail to like a negative chemtrail. It would leave like a dark streak in the sky, like there was no chemtrail, but then there was just nothing, no color in the sky at all, no clouds, nothing. So I haven't figured out what that is. I've also done it to where the airplane has turned into what I would call a UFO, the typical flying saucer shaped UFO, and then you'll see it change from an airplane, like a white looking airplane with wings, to a UFO, and then boom, it's gone, and it no longer makes a chemtrail. So I think, it's not just airplanes that have, special apparatus connected to them laying out these chemtrails. It may also be extraterrestrial, or let's say UFOs. They may be using UFOs to do it also. I don't know. I have no idea why they're doing this. It doesn't feel positive to me. So I'm just going to consider it as it's either negative or a neutral thing, and I don't like it. Just leave it at that. But if someone came to me and said, well, actually the reason we're doing it is because of XYZ and da-da-da-da-da, maybe if they could tell me a good story, I might go, oh, okay, that's the reason. Now, saying all of that reminds me of one important thing. When you make these Orgone devices, here's what you want to do. So you get a shape that you like. You need to have a mold, M-O-L-D, a mold that you're going to pour all your material in, right? So for me, this is kind of a dirty gray color only because it's been buried in the ground for a long time. I just dug it up. So it looks that way. This one here you can see, I had a beautiful plastic mold for this one. So you find a mold that you like. The next thing is you need a crystal, a double terminated crystal. So double terminated means it has a point on each end of the crystal. And then it's really good if you can take copper wire and wrap it around the crystal. So on one part of the crystal, of course, it'll be clockwise from looking at it from the end, and then the other crystal, it'll look like it's counterclockwise coming from the other end. Now I've done it to where the crystal is in the middle. The crystal's like here, the wire wraps around it tight, and then as it gets to the end of the crystal, the terminating point on the crystal, then I make like a cone. I make it to where the wire is becoming a cone, getting larger off that, and I'll maybe have it, the same. It depends on you, what you feel is good. So you might have the crystal is this long, and then the part coming off each end of the crystal could be this long to this long. So you make it the wire, is tight around the crystal. It gets to the terminating point, and then it becomes a cone itself, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you end it getting bigger on both ends. So it'll look like a cone, the crystal, and then another cone. So that's like the engine of the device. So when you build your mold, you need metal shavings, you need resin, you need this double terminating crystal, and then some wire to wrap around it. And you can also make like a wire looking like a vortex. You start out, tight circles, and then you just make it you turn it into a circle, so it's flat, but it looks like a circle. The wire is being twisted, right? You could also put one of those in the very bottom of this of the shape. So you've got your mold. Turn the mold upside down because you're going to pour the resin into it. And I would put metal shavings in first. I would pour some resin in. Now, working with resin, you've got to go online and check that out because you need a hardener, and it's just a touch and go learning process, right? How much resin to how much hardener, how much work time do you have? Will it stay, liquefied for 5 minutes or 10 minutes? It depends on the hardener you use. Okay, so I had best results where I would pack in the metal shavings, and I would pour in enough resin to fill up to those metal shavings because I wanted to make sure I got enough resin in the bottom. There's no, air bubbles or anything. You kind of tap your mold, get the air bubbles out. More metal shavings, and then I would set my terminated crystal. Now, what you can't see in this device is that the crystal is inside standing. It's standing up like this. Okay, the crystal is standing up inside this device, so it's pointing out the top and pointing out the bottom. Just checking to see where my son is. He's shooting his wrist rocket. Okay, so the crystal is in the very middle, and it's got this wire wrapped around it, right, making these cones. So then I would put, the metal shavings, then the crystal, set that in the middle, pack some metal shavings around it to keep it in place. Enough to keep it in place. I would fill up more resin to where it goes up almost over the crystal. More metal shavings, and if you do this right, you'll get this layered effect, which is what you saw with this device here, right? There's almost like an ice cream sundae. There's resin, there's the layer of metal shavings, resin, metal shavings. Now I've done small ones where it's just like all metal shavings with the crystal packed in the middle, and then I just pour all the resin on top. It's up to you what look you like, how you feel about it. So you put the metal shavings in, and then you pour the resin in, and you want to make it to where there's no metal shavings sticking out of the bottom if you can, because if you have metal shavings on the very top and the resin comes to that and it dries and you have a sharp metal shaving, every time you set it down somewhere it's going to scratch, your furniture, your floor, whatever. So that's just a cosmetic thing, just kind of a common sense thing, but it's up to you. This one here, this is a special one. This is from that psychic individual, one of the ones he sent to me. He actually has real gold in here. He has real 18 and 20 karat gold, and this was a special one. He actually made Orgone shape, and then he put that shape inside of this bigger one, because he found that if he did that, it generated more energy, would get rid of more negative energy quicker. So that was just his deal there. Yeah, I'm trying to see this one here. I don't know how good the camera is. Where's the camera? Oh, there it is. Can you see inside the middle of this one? There's a tiny crystal sticking up in the middle of that. I hope you can see that. Okay, I can see it, but some people, there are people who make some really awesome Orgone devices. They make different necklaces, pendants, pendants I should say, for protection. They add different stones, they add different coiled up wire, and they have different reasons for that. I guess if you're an energy worker and you really understand how things feel if you can see energy, then I would recommend doing it, because you have a big advantage over other people. There is this lady who I called, and the one who told me, hey, you've got an implant in your shoulder. I do know that she makes Orgone devices, but like I said, I haven't spoken with her in a while, and I haven't asked her if I could use her name or not. So I'd like to get in touch with her. I'd like to interview her, actually, because she's fascinating. I don't know if she's doing anything with cryptos or not, but when it comes to like energy work, healing, and just being an all-around fantastic psychic, she's quite good. Quite good. I know she travels around the world a lot, and she places a lot of Orgone devices around the world. She goes to these vortices on the earth, well-known places, places that she feels have been hijacked by the powers that be, by the elites, and she turns them into positive energy vortices. So that's pretty interesting, huh? Okay. So I've been dealing with Orgone for about 20 years now. I feel it's an extremely positive thing. I highly recommend having Orgone around your house. I've actually been places where I've had like this smaller one in my pocket, and I've met people, and just from the get-go they like avoided me, like they didn't even want to shake my hand, and I felt something very off with these individuals. And I think maybe they were reptilians, or they were a different kind of non-terrestrial being, another kind of alien. They were negative. I also know another individual who carried 2 of those devices with him daily for a number of years, and he told me stories about going to Walmart in America, walking around the store and seeing people's faces change. They were reptilians, and their faces were changing to their reptilian features, and their eyes were changing, and they would notice that he was the cause, and they would get really upset and like hiss at him and say really strange, horrible stuff to him. Complete strangers, right? And he also told me he worked for a company, and through the years, the stories I heard about this company, it sounded like they had some evil people working there. And he once had to deal with an individual who was very high up in the company, and while he was talking with this guy, the guy's half of his face changed into a reptilian, And the guy just got the hell out of there, you know. Acted like he suddenly had a meeting to go to. So Orgone is, I think, not only takes negative energy out of an environment and transmutes it into positive energy, but it also does something to reptilian aliens. Whatever they use to maintain their human form, it disrupts that. There's something with their energy system that gets disrupted from it, and that's a plus in my mind. Remember that movie They Live with Roddy Piper, that professional wrestler? Yay! That guy was awesome, man. Unfortunately, I believe he passed away, and if he hasn't, then it's a Mandela, because I thought he passed away. That movie where they had the sunglasses where you could see what everybody really was? Something like that, I think. So I highly recommend Orgone. I hope this video was worthwhile. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informational, educational. If anybody has a question that wasn't answered, please leave it in the comment section. If you liked the video, help me out. Help a brother out, man. Hit the like button, smash it up. If you think you'd like to see more interesting videos like this, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You guys know all about that, right? Yeah, let me know if you like this video, because I have a couple other devices that are extremely rare Orgone devices, and if I get enough interest, I'll make a video about it. Now, I know I was asked, oh boy, more than a month ago to make this video. I apologize, it's taken so long. I had a lot of stuff buried in my yard and in other places that are hard to reach as a protective barrier on where I live, so that's why it took me a while to get some of these together. The other ones weren't too bad. So my apologies for taking so long, but I just have a list of videos I want to make, and I'm going down the list, and this is the next one. You guys take care. Have a great day. Let's see. Oh, it's the 10th. I didn't say, did I? Today is November 10th. I'm sitting here in Japan at the ocean. I got the sun facing me here. Sun's going down. It's probably close to 4 p.m. by looking at the sun. It's getting colder. Maybe you saw a bunch of birds flying behind me. They're all flying south. Okay, you guys, Sunday for me, so it's Sunday morning for you, or maybe it's still Saturday night. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care.